Maria cradled newborn Ben in a cramped apartment where rain drummed on a rusty roof and hope glimmered like a single candle guarding the hallway's shadows. She taught the toddling boy to draw circles on scrap paper, while the refrigerator hummed a clumsy lullaby that softened sirens drifting through narrow streets. First words became songs that rose above rent notices sliding under the door like stealthy envelopes of worry. At preschool age, Ben practiced letters beside a cracked window, counting each bus that rumbled past as proof adventures always begin with patient lines. Maria patched worn sneakers with thread and faith so the child could race across playground asphalt without feeling the thin soles between dreams and gravel. Evenings smelled of lentil soup simmering on a single burner, every spoonful carrying lessons about sharing what little you have with fearless joy. Weekly library trips turned into treasure hunts where pages opened secret doors no landlord could lock. On his 7th birthday, Ben lifted a second-hand dictionary heavier than the cake, claiming it like a trophy of bright tomorrows. Neighbors muttered that brilliance never blooms from cracked sidewalks. Maria answered by taping spelling lists to peeling walls until the room resembled an orchard of words. Poster board projects cost more than groceries, so she flattened cereal boxes, painted them white, and proved creativity stretches pennies further than silence. Ben won a science ribbon for turning bottle caps into a solar model, smiling brighter than the borrowed flashlight that lit late-night study sessions. Middle school brought tougher math and tougher stares from classmates ranking status by sneaker brands. Maria reminded him numbers respect effort, not labels. He doubled lunch apples to practice fractions, then shared the extra halves with a shy girl who always forgot her snack, discovering kindness solves equations pride cannot. A burst pipe flooded the kitchen, yet Maria laughed and called it an indoor sea adventure, handing Ben a broom mast to steer tides of inconvenience. In debate club, he borrowed his mother's frayed blazer, scented with detergent and courage, proving polished words can shine brighter than new fabric. Victory speeches echoed down hallways like drumbeats, announcing that soft voices carry far when powered by truth. Graphing calculators were priced beyond reach, so Maria traded weekend cleaning shifts for a used one, wrapping it in newspaper comics to hide worn keys. Ben tutored classmates to repay her sacrifice, each solved problem laying another brick in the bridge they built together across poverty's gap. Glossy college brochures frightened their mailbox, but Maria pinned them beside grocery lists, treating them as chores that would soon be checked off. A scholarship letter landed on the mat, and her joyful whoop sent pigeons scattering as if confetti exploded against the window. They celebrated with street vendor ice cream dripping onto textbook pages, promising never to wipe away the sticky proof of humble victories. Move-in day smelled of fresh paint and brewed coffee. Maria's hug lasted longer than dorm orientation because love ignores schedules. She slipped a notebook into Ben's pocket filled with quotes written during bus rides between cleaning jobs. He called every Sunday, describing professors who blurred equations and metaphors, laughter leaping intact through patchy reception. Part-time shifts trimmed free hours. Calls shrank to hurried texts, yet Maria replied with sun emojis, believing warmth squeezes through tiny screens. After finals, Ben brought home Clara, whose sleek suitcase rolled like quiet thunder across cracked hallway tiles. Supper chatter fluttered between cultures, and Maria tasted both curiosity and distance in the polished way Clara folded napkins. Internship season swept Ben into glass towers where elevators spoke in stock prices. Maria watered balcony herbs and whispered brave forecasts of her own. Engagement news arrived via holographic card shimmering above chipped formica, dazzling yet oddly cold. She sent congratulations, though the absence of ink left a paper-cut sting no one else could see. The wedding website praised minimalist chic, a style that exiled magnets, crayons, and perhaps mothers who kept both. An email about streamlined ambience trimmed the guest list like gardeners removing roots declared inconvenient. Her trembling call reached Ben between meetings. He promised explanations, then vanished into the electronic fog surrounding busy people. A drone delivered a tablet inviting her to watch the ceremony from home, its glow resembling a distant city behind thick glass. Maria brewed tea, deciding she would attend with grace, even if only pixels saved her a seat. Drones swooped over fairy-light arches on screen, scenery so perfect it nearly convinced her distance was tasteful design. When Ben's cheeks glistened during vows, her hand lifted toward the image, instinct outrunning the reminder of empty air. Chat windows spilled hard icons while her kitchen clock ticked, a metronome measuring how far applause can travel without touch. Childhood photos flashed without her silhouette, proving love can be edited for visual balance. Fireworks crowned the virtual sky while a lone candle flickered on her table, smaller but real, proving every story keeps a flame beyond the frame. By the time Ben turned 21, he had left the cramped apartment and moved across the city to study business at a bright college full of glass walls and busy coffee shops where ideas bubbled. Maria hugged him at the dorm gate, slipping a small notebook into his hand and whispering that every scratched note inside was a reminder to stay kind even when the world felt too fast. Ben promised to call every week, and for a while the promise held strong, with evening chats full of jokes about professors who mixed up names and cafeteria noodles that tasted like rubber bands. As semesters flashed by, his schedule packed tight like books, and the calls shrank to quick voice messages sent while jogging between finance class and shifts at the campus store. Maria kept her phone on the worn table, screen facing up, hoping each buzz meant Ben was free, but more often it was bank ads, neighbors' group chats, or weather alerts about distant storms. One bright spring break, Ben brought home a friend named Clara, a tall woman with clever eyes who laughed softly and told stories about growing up on farms turned into luxury resorts. Maria served them spicy lentil soup and watched their hands brush as they reached for the same spoon. In that tiny moment, she felt both proud and uneasy, sensing her place gently shifting. Clara thanked Maria politely, yet kept glancing at her phone, and later Ben explained she liked things modern, neat, and free from what she called cluttered memories of past. Over the next year, Clara and Ben became a team, sharing filtered photos of brunch towers, planning volunteer runs, and collecting matching travel mugs that said "Forward Only" in bold silver letters. When Ben graduated with honors, Maria clapped so hard her palms ached, but Clara guided him away quickly for sleek photos against the school crest, saying the light was perfect only for a minute. That night, while diners toasted in a rooftop hall paid for by Clara's parents, Maria sat at a corner table near the service door, pleased to be present yet feeling like a borrowed chair. Clara's mother admired Maria's thrift store dress, then asked if she had considered updating her look. Words that floated sugary sweet yet poked like dull needles beneath polite smiles. Weeks after, Ben landed a job at a sharp new firm where everyone wore watch faces that blinked with stock prices, and team lunches cost more than a month of Maria's groceries. The city spun faster for him. Soon he and Clara signed a lease on a high-rise loft with voice-activated lights, a glass balcony, and a rule that no magnets were allowed on the fridge. Maria visited once, bringing Ben's childhood drawings rolled neatly, but Clara thanked her, saying the walls were already curated with minimalist prints in soft gray lines that would not confuse the eye. After the elevator doors closed behind Maria, she pressed her palm against the quiet hallway wall, breathing through a feeling that was half pride and half a hollow ache she could not name. Months later, the engagement news came through a glossy postcard showing Ben and Clara hugging under fireworks, the words "We said yes," printed in gold that glittered when tilted toward the sun. Maria cried happy tears, then noticed there was no handwritten note, only a website link with dress codes, venue maps, and a polite request to RSVP online before the algorithm closed the form. She spent an evening clicking the link, rereading instructions about pastel palettes and cashless gifts, finally choosing a pale blue dress in her cart, though the price made her heart thump. Before she could finalize, her phone buzzed with a new email titled "Clarifying Guest List," where Clara's wedding planner wrote that the celebrations would be intimate to honor a streamlined ambience. The message thanked Maria warmly for her ongoing support, but explained that the ceremony was limited to those who fit the couple's present narrative, a phrase Maria read 3 times without understanding. She called Ben right away, voice trembling like leaves in wind, and he answered halfway through a meeting, whispering that things were complicated and promising to discuss later, then quickly hanging up. Days passed with silence thicker than rain clouds. Maria watered her balcony plants, whispering apologies to petals that drooped no matter how gentle her hands were. One Sunday afternoon, the doorbell rang and a package arrived. Inside was a sleek tablet displaying a pre-recorded video of Ben, Clara, and a digital confetti filter announcing a live-stream wedding option. Maria's fingers hovered over the play button, but she set the tablet down untouched, hearing her old kettle whistle like a faint alarm in the quiet kitchen. She sat at the table where she once helped Ben trace letters, staring at the chipped edge that had survived decades of spills, and wondered how love could be strong yet suddenly hidden. Later that week, neighbors asked if she was excited. Maria forced a thin smile and replied that every child's next step mattered, though inside she felt like a page torn from its own story. She remembered nights sewing patches on Ben's backpack, each stitch a silent promise that he would never carry burdens alone, and the memory made her throat tighten with both joy and hurt. Invitations fluttered across social feeds, sunlit vineyard rows, crystal arches, and glowing lanterns spelling the couple's initials, while Maria refreshed her messages hoping for a personal note that never came. The day before the wedding live stream, a courier delivered a final envelope. Inside was a gift card for a spa day to enjoy self-care during this meaningful transition, signed with gratitude, Clara. The words blurred as Maria blinked back tears, feeling the space between gratitude and dismissal stretch wider than any distance she could measure on a map. She placed the card beside her kettle and opened the window, letting city sounds drift in, traffic horns, vendor calls, and somewhere far, church bells rehearsing gentle tones for tomorrow. As evening settled, Maria composed a short message to Ben. I love you. I always will be happy. But after reading it twice, she pressed delete, deciding he already knew. She brewed chamomile tea, sitting in the glow of one small lamp, and reminded herself that love was not a ticket you could rescind. It was a river that kept flowing even underground. With steady breaths, she folded the spa voucher into her notebook, the same one she had handed Ben years ago, pages still filled with curling words of hope. She whispered a quiet promise to herself to keep living brightly, because bitterness, like dust, only settled if you stopped moving. Outside, rain began tapping the roof again, familiar as an old lullaby, and Maria closed her eyes, imagining it washing away hurt the way it once cooled summer streets after long hot days. Somewhere downtown, lights in the tall towers blinked like distant stars, and Maria pictured Ben laughing under chandeliers, believing for a moment that her good wishes could cross any barrier. She stood, straightened her shoulders, and placed a single candle on the windowsill, its flame small yet steady, a silent beacon of her endless care. Then Maria turned off the lamp, letting the candlelight dance on the walls, and as shadows swayed, she felt her heart settle, holding both loss and love like two hands clasped across time. On the morning of the wedding, Maria woke before dawn, brewing tea while the sky slowly turned gray, and she told herself she would watch the live stream with calm breath and a steady, grateful heart. She set her old laptop on the kitchen table, the same table where Ben learned fractions using colored beans, and wiped the dusty screen with a corner of her apron until the glass shone like still water. As the virtual waiting room opened, bright music floated from the speakers, and an animated countdown said the ceremony would start in 10 minutes, giving Maria time to pull her notebook close for comfort. She wrote a single line at the top of a fresh page. Love is patient even when pushed away, then closed the cover, placing her palms flat on it as though sealing a gentle promise inside. The live stream began with sweeping drone footage of rolling vineyards and strings of lanterns that looked like fireflies, and Maria whispered a quiet wow, even though her chest felt tight and hollow. Ben appeared in a crisp gray suit, smile wide, confidence shining, and for a moment Maria's pride rose like a sunrise, bright enough to chase every shadow of hurt from her mind. Clara entered next wearing a lace gown that sparkled like frost on winter branches, and guests clapped through tiny microphones, their cheers echoing through Maria's small kitchen like distant waves on metal walls. The officiant spoke about new journeys and leaving old ties to grow new roots, words delivered kindly yet cutting Maria like paper, because she was one of those old roots left behind. When Ben and Clara exchanged vows, the camera zoomed so close Maria saw a tear on her son's cheek, and she lifted fingers toward the screen as if she could wipe it away. She remembered brushing mud from that same cheek after a playground fall, and her throat ached knowing her touch was now an unseen memory floating far outside the polished vineyard scene. During the ring exchange, the chat window flooded with heart emojis, but Maria barely noticed, focused on Ben's steady hands, thankful he did not tremble the way he had during school plays. A gentle breeze rustled Clara's veil, carrying petals across the aisle, and Maria imagined the sweet smell of roses, though her own kitchen smelled of boiled rice and dish soap. The couple kissed, guests clapped again, and a string quartet played lively notes, yet Maria heard only the quiet tick of her wall clock marking time she could never reclaim. The live stream cut to a reception hall with glass walls catching sunset gold, and waiters served plates piled high with foods Maria could not name, though they looked like tiny works of art. A slideshow of childhood photos flashed behind the couple, and Maria smiled at Ben's gap-toothed grin until she realized every picture after age 12 was newly color-graded, but none showed her beside him. The planner had likely removed her to keep the theme clean, and Maria closed her eyes, breathing slowly to stop tears, reminding herself that memories still lived even if hidden from view. The toast began, and Clara's father praised his daughter's strength, joking that she had tamed a boy who once lived among clutter and chaos, words that drew polite laughs in the hall. Maria felt those words sting like nettles, yet she chose to focus on Ben's shy laugh, hearing the same soft note he used when nervous as a teen before big exams. The screen soon showed a guestbook link asking viewers to leave blessings. Maria typed, "May your love be brave, but paused. Worrying brave sounded harsh, so she deleted and wrote, "May your love stay kind." When she clicked send, the browser froze, spinning wheel reflecting on her face, and she stared at it like a tiny moon, wondering if messages stuck in limbo still counted. The connection faltered, pixels breaking into blocks, sound crackling, and Maria feared missing the first dance, so she refreshed twice, whispering please like a quick prayer to the patient machine. The video returned with music mid-note, showing Ben and Clara swaying beneath lanterns, and Maria swayed too, alone, moving feet across cold tiles as though the kitchen were that garden floor. She remembered teaching Ben to two-step by standing him on her shoes, and the memory warmed her shoulders though the night air slipped in through a cracked window above the sink. Guests circled the pair waving sparklers, forming a glowing tunnel, and Maria held her breath when Ben lifted Clara and spun, because joy lit his face brighter than any spark. The program shifted to speeches, and Maria leaned closer while Ben thanked mentors and friends, voice firm. Yet when he spoke of family, he only mentioned future hopes with Clara's clan. His words hurt, but Maria focused on his steady posture, noting how well he held a microphone, and silently praised the confidence they had built together through years of bedtime reading. A final video montage played of Ben and Clara skydiving, climbing mountains, adopting a puppy named Bolt, and Maria smiled despite everything, because her son's laughter rang clear in each clip. The ceremony ended with fireworks bursting above vineyards, colors mirrored on glass walls, and Maria mouthed goodnight as the screen faded, leaving her reflection blinking back in sudden darkness. Silence filled the kitchen except for the low hum of the refrigerator, and Maria realized she was holding her breath, so she released it slowly, feeling both lighter and strangely older. She closed the laptop, its click echoing like the close of a chapter, then carried her mug to the sink, watching tea leaves swirl down the drain like tiny brown dancers. The night outside was clear and calm, stars peeking through city haze, and Maria stepped onto her balcony to let cool air brush her face the way Ben's hands once did. She looked up at distant pinpoints and wondered which star travelers used to guide them home, deciding that love worked the same way, shining even when clouds tried to hide its light. Back inside, she folded the notebook page she had written and slipped it into an envelope, planning to mail it to Ben, though she knew he might never read paper letters. She wrote his office address carefully, adding a tiny heart at the end, then sealed the envelope and kissed it, a small act that made her smile despite teary eyes. At the bookshelf, she chose a storybook they once shared, about a bear who searched for the perfect hug, and placed the envelope inside, hoping old pages might soften harder modern days. Before bed, she turned on the radio, letting soft songs float through the quiet apartment, and she hummed along, noticing her voice sounded stronger than she felt minutes before. She washed her face, catching her own gaze in the mirror, and told her reflection kindly that standing alone tonight was proof of courage, not of being unloved or forgotten. Climbing into bed, she thanked the universe for giving Ben happiness, even if it meant she watched from afar, because true care is measured by wishes, not by seating charts. She turned off the lamp, letting moonlight cast gentle stripes on her quilt, and drifted towards sleep thinking of tomorrow's dawn, certain the sun would rise on chances to heal. And in that final waking moment, she promised to keep her door unlocked, heart open, and hope alive, so that one day when her son's search for home, light would guide him back. Maria woke early the next day, opened the curtains, and watched pink morning light spill across the street like quiet hope returning after a long night of tangled thoughts and questions. She boiled oatmeal, stirred in honey, and reminded herself that strong hearts grow by choosing kindness even when they feel bruised and small, the way tiny seeds push through hard soil toward the sun. After breakfast, she opened her notebook and wrote a plan called Steps to Bright Tomorrows, listing small actions like watering plants, calling friends, and walking outside each afternoon. She mailed the letter hidden inside Ben's old storybook, placing it in the blue mailbox on the corner, whispering a quick prayer that paper words could travel where spoken words had stalled. Back home, she cleaned closets, sorted clothes for donation, and discovered Ben's forgotten baseball glove, its leather cracked but still soft inside, like memories that hurt yet also warmed the palms. She traced the stitched name on the glove and smiled, then placed it on a shelf by the window as a promise that love remains even without invitations. That afternoon, her neighbor, Mrs. Patel, knocked, carrying warm samosas and an offer to share lunch, and Maria accepted, grateful for company that filled silent rooms with friendly voices and spice scents. Over plates, they talked about grown children and changing cities, and Mrs. Patel said softly that broken circles can mend, just as clay pots gain beauty from careful repairs of bright gold glue. Maria listened, holding those words like gentle tools, and decided to attend next week's community potluck, believing new friends might help her heart find space to laugh again. When potluck day arrived, she cooked a big pot of lentil soup, the same recipe Ben loved, and walked to the center, carrying it carefully so the steam stayed safe under the lid. The room buzzed with chatter, music, and clinking spoons, and Maria set her soup between trays of noodles and trays of bright salads, feeling both shy and brave at the same moment. Children darted between chairs, chasing balloons and reminding her of Ben's younger laughter, and she smiled so wide her cheeks ached, realizing joy could bloom even in unexpected gardens. A retired teacher named Mr. Lewis sat beside her, praising the soup, and they traded stories about students learning patience through mistakes, each tale lifting the corners of Maria's healing spirit. He mentioned a volunteer reading club at the library that needed helpers, and Maria wrote the meeting time in her notebook, glad for a chance to guide young readers the way she once guided Ben. Days later, she joined the club, arranging picture books on colorful rugs, and children gathered close while she read about brave bears, clever foxes, and adventures that prove kindness beats fear. One little girl named Lila hugged her afterward, saying Maria's voice sounded like sunshine on water, and those simple words soaked into Maria's bones like warm tea on a cold morning. Each weekly session widened her world, filling it with giggles and questions like why clouds float or how turtles breathe, and Maria answered with patient joy, feeling valuable again. Meanwhile, Ben's life raced forward inside glass towers and screens, yet small cracks formed unseen, because even bright stories can hide soft spots under glossy covers. Clara's work trips grew longer, leaving Ben to walk bolt alone through echoing hallways, and he started noticing how quiet nights amplified thoughts he had pushed aside. One evening, he found the old storybook Maria had tucked letter inside, fallen from a crowded shelf while he searched for a charger, its worn cover like an unexpected knock on memory's door. Curious, he flipped through pages and felt a tug when he saw the bear drawing Maria once helped him color, and then the envelope slid out, landing softly on his lap like a feather. Hands shaking, he opened it and read her neat handwriting, wishing him endless kindness, asking nothing, and promising that her doors stayed open no matter how far he wandered. His throat tightened because the letter felt warmer than the smart thermostat that balanced his perfect apartment, and he realized real comfort is measured by hearts, not by controlled temperatures. He looked around at bare walls, spotless counters, and the magnet-free fridge, suddenly missing the messy joy of shared drawings, fridge art, and laughter echoing through old narrow halls. Later, when Clara video called from another airport lounge, Ben spoke about inviting his mother over for dinner, but Clara frowned, reminding him of their need for harmony and minimal stress. Her words sounded calm, yet they pressed like cold glass around his chest, and after the call ended, he stared at Bolt, who wagged as if urging him toward messy, wagging love. The next morning, he booked a car, punched Maria's address into the map, and drove through streets that shrank from steel towers to brick shops, each mile peeling back layers of polished distance. Maria was watering balcony plants when the unfamiliar car stopped, and her heart skipped as she recognized her son's shape stepping out, carrying the old storybook against his suit jacket. Ben waved, voice cracking as he called, "Mom, I brought lunch," and Maria rushed down the stairs faster than she believed her knees allowed, tears sliding both happy and unsure. They set sandwiches, fruit, and a small cake on her kitchen table, and Bolt sniffed every corner, tail-flicking photos while Maria laughed, the sound filling space that had waited for music. Ben apologized, words tumbling, explaining he had let shiny plans block the simple light of family, and Maria listened, nodding, placing a gentle hand over his fast-moving fingers. She admitted her hurt but also her steady pride, telling him mistakes are like scraped knees that sting yet teach balance, and she forgave him before he even finished speaking. Tears slid down Ben's cheeks again, but this time Maria wiped them with her own hands, feeling the distance between them dissolve like sugar in warm tea. They talked all afternoon, remembering old games, solving new worries, and planning another visit, this time with Maria cooking lentil soup in the high-rise kitchen, no matter what decor rules said. When Ben left, he hugged her longer than any hug since childhood, and he promised to come back next week, bringing magnets shaped like stars for Clara's fridge as a gentle joke. Maria watched the car disappear, feeling wind lift her hair, and she whispered thanks to the universe, to storybooks, and to brave letters that travel where voices once failed. She turned inside, humming, and Bolt's forgotten tennis ball rolled under her foot, reminding her that even small circles can start joyful games under forgiving ceilings. That night, Maria wrote a new notebook entry. Healing takes rounds of courage, and she knew paragraph 4 of her story was closing on hope rather than sorrow. She closed the notebook, placed it next to Ben's glove, and let sleep gather her safely, while moonlight painted soft stripes that promised tomorrow held brighter lines still to be written. Outside, city lights flickered like friendly fireflies, and somewhere in the distance a young man in a high-rise apartment placed a paper heart on his refrigerator door, beginning to rewrite his own bright map. The next week arrived quickly, and Ben kept his promise by driving to Maria's building with Bolt in the front seat, his tongue out the window and ears flapping like bright flags. Maria waited by the entrance holding 2 grocery bags of vegetables, noodles, and soaked lentils, ready to teach Ben the perfect timing of spices. Upstairs, the apartment smelled of warm cumin and garlic, and Ben joked that the elevator must be jealous because it never carried food that could make steel walls feel like home. While Bolt explored again, Maria handed Ben the star magnets, and they clicked onto the fridge door like tiny fireworks starting a new holiday. Ben rolled up his sleeves, eager to chop onions, though he blinked back tears from the strong smell, and Maria teased that fancy offices rarely train people for kitchen courage. They cooked side by side, stirring the soup like old teammates passing a ball, and the steady rhythm of spoons against the pot felt as natural as heartbeats echoing in friendly silence. Over lunch, they talked about Clara's trips, and Ben admitted the high-rise felt lonely at night when smart lights could not replace a voice saying goodnight. Maria listened without judgment, placing a gentle hand on his wrist, telling him that even bright towers need roots, or the wind of worry will find a way to shake them. Ben sighed and shared that Clara believed more family ties meant more clutter, but he now saw that emptiness was just clutter in disguise, taking up space with nothing helpful to give. Later, Maria suggested a Sunday dinner to meet Clara, promising simple food and gentle stories. Ben agreed, hope rising like bread in a warm oven. That evening, he returned home and spoke to Clara on a video call, explaining his visit, showing the magnets sparkling under kitchen lights, and asking her to meet his mother the coming weekend. Clara frowned at first, but Bolt bounced into view wearing a dish towel cape, and her laughter cracked the screen until she agreed one dinner could not hurt. Sunday came, and Maria set the table with mismatched plates painted with wildflowers, then placed a white cloth underneath, so the colors looked like a small garden protected by snow. Clara stepped inside, eyes scanning the room, pausing at the baseball glove on the shelf, asking whose name was stitched in faded thread. Ben answered proudly that it was his childhood glove, and Maria explained how she fixed broken laces with shoestrings one winter, a story that made Clara smile with surprise at such careful reuse. As soup simmered, Maria invited Clara to sprinkle cilantro, guiding her hand to feel the right pinch, and the cooking steam carried laughter upward like soft balloons bumping the ceiling. They ate slowly, and conversation drifted from favorite books to childhood fears, with Clara admitting she once thought moon shadows were secret dragons guarding her backyard fence. Maria listened and shared her own tale of fearing thunder, explaining how she learned to count between lightning and rumble to measure distance, a trick Clara promised to teach any future kids. After dishes were washed, they moved to the small balcony, where city lights blinked beyond potted herbs, and Clara said the night smelled kinder here than from the lofty glass perch downtown. Maria offered a tiny pot of mint for their apartment, explaining that living things remind people to breathe, and Clara accepted, cupping the green leaves like a fragile promise she wanted to protect. Ben felt tension slip from his shoulders like a heavy coat finally hung on its hook, and he realized bridges did not have to match castles in style. They only needed to be strong enough to cross. Over the next weeks, dinners alternated between the loft and the apartment, each visit sanding away edges of old misunderstandings the way water smooths sharp pebbles with patient waves. One night, Maria brought framed photos of Ben at different ages, letting Clara choose which would fit the minimalist wall, and Clara surprised herself by picking 3, arranging them in a neat row above the couch. Visitors to the loft soon noticed the new warmth, pointing out the magnets, the mint, and the smiling child Ben frozen in a snapshot of muddy victory during a school race. Clara began texting Maria recipes, curious about spice blends, and Maria responded with voice notes full of simple tips, their exchange weaving a new thread of shared discovery every day. At work, Ben found himself telling colleagues about his mother's reading club, inviting them to donate picture books, and the office lobby soon displayed a bright box labeled Stories for Future Dreamers. Maria's club grew, children eager to borrow books, and she often ended evenings sending Ben photos of kids holding colorful covers, their toothy grins proof that joy multiplies when passed along. Spring shifted into summer, and Clara suggested hosting a casual gathering where their 2 families could share picnic food in the city park under wide trees that offered equal shade to everyone. Maria packed samosas, sandwiches, and extra lemonade, while Clara's parents brought sleek coolers of sparkling drinks, and the two mothers met with polite bows that soon softened into relaxed smiles. Ben tossed a frisbee with Bolt, who chased it through puddles left by morning sprinklers, splashing everyone and turning polished shoes into playful mess, laughter rising like birds startled into flight. During the meal, Clara's mother admired Maria's lentil salad, asking for the recipe, and Maria wrote it out on a napkin, her handwriting looping gently like vines connecting new garden beds. Later, Ben made a short speech, thanking both families for teaching him that love is not decoration but daily practice, and Clara squeezed his hand, repeating those words softly as if saving them for later. Under fading light, the group lit small candles inside glass jars, watching flames dance while city sound hushed, and Ben snapped photos capturing the glow, reflecting in every eye around the table. At dusk, Maria hugged Clara goodbye, whispering that courage often looks like listening, and Clara replied that listening had shown her beauty inside stories she once hurried past. The next day, Maria found a message from Clara inviting her to join a weekend art market, where local artists sold painted pots, and Maria agreed, eager to walk among colors beside her new daughter-in-law. Walking together, they chose a sky blue pot for the mint, laughing about which color truly matched hope, and a nearby painter offered to add gold lines, turning the pot into a symbol of kintsugi healing. Back at the loft, they placed the painted pot on a sunny sill, and Clara stuck a star magnet beside it, saying stars need plants the way dreams need roots, the sentence Maria decided to copy into her notebook. That evening, Ben watched the two women chat over tea, realizing the wound left by the wedding had not only closed but now formed a stronger scar, one able to bend without breaking. As night settled, the city outside flickered in rhythmic patterns, and Maria felt her chest expand with calm, knowing that the path to this balcony had started with a painful letter but led her to a shared horizon. She breathed in mint-scented air, thinking of paragraph 5 as a chapter about bridges built from soup, stories, and forgiving hearts, and she trusted the story would keep unfolding with gentle, steady light. Several calm months rolled by after the joyful picnic, and each weekend planted another seed of trust between Maria and Clara, who now texted about recipes, books, and videos of Bolt chasing reflections across the loft floor. The reading club at the library grew so quickly that volunteers built a colorful corner called Story Island, where children sat on beanbags shaped like whales while Maria guided them through Dragon Quest that rewarded telling the truth. Clara started visiting Story Island on her free evenings, helping children paint bookmark monsters and laughing when bright ink splattered her neat sleeves, proof that careful hearts can also enjoy colorful mess. Maria noticed the easy curve of Clara's smile during those sessions and realized real kindness had replaced past tension, turning uncertain edges into soft paths walked together toward shared joy. One breezy afternoon, Ben phoned Maria with a shaky voice that soon burst into happy shouting, announcing that Clara was expecting a baby who would arrive when apples grew red in early autumn. Maria was first speechless, then squealed so loudly that pigeons scattered from the balcony rail, while Clara in the background called out that she wanted Maria standing beside her in the delivery room. They celebrated that night with fizzy homemade lemonade on the balcony, planting nursery colors under silver starlight and laughing when Bolt tried to chase moonbeams sliding over the railings. Ben declared the nursery would hold a whole wall of shelves for storybooks personally chosen by Grandma Maria, because every dreamer needs easy access to worlds made of words and a gentle moonlight lamp for safe sleep. The next day at work, Ben requested family leave, proudly telling his manager he intended to master diaper duty and midnight rocking even better than quarterly reports and board presentations. Clara's parents, startled yet pleased, invited Maria to plan a shared baby shower, eager to blend traditions like bright strands woven through one strong blanket, and they asked her to pick gentle pastel balloons. The shower took place beneath leafy oaks in the city park, where picnic tables overflowed with dishes ranging from samosas to sushi, and paper lanterns bobbed like friendly jellyfish in a breeze. Maria presented knitted blankets stitched with shining yarn stars, each corner edged with soft yellow satin, and Clara hugged her so long that the photographer's camera beeped twice before they finally let go. Guests whispered that the hug looked warmer than summer sunlight, and even passing joggers paused to smile at the sight of families fitting together like puzzle pieces designed from the start. Shortly after, Ben invited Maria to the first ultrasound visit, where a tiny heartbeat echoed like soft drums, causing tears that sparkled brighter than clinic fluorescent bulbs. In the waiting room, Maria held Clara's hand while Ben snapped a picture, capturing 3 hopeful faces against clinic posters about healthy meals and strong bones, while a smiling nurse in the background flashed a thumbs up. That photo soon hung on the loft fridge beside star magnets and the mint pot, turning minimalist steel into a growing gallery of real-life magic while Bolt sat proudly beneath it, Weeks later, Maria received a message announcing she had been nominated for the city's Bright Pages Guardian Award, recognizing adults who turn reading into adventure for young minds. On ceremony night, Ben, Clara, and Bolt escorted her, though the dog wore a bow tie and patiently waited outside the hall, wagging at every passing limo. The mayor handed Maria a glass trophy shaped like an open book, praising her for building ladders of letters that helped children climb toward kinder worlds. Ben recorded the speech while blinking back tears, remembering evenings when his mother helped him trace tricky loops of lowercase g until they looked like miniature swings. Reporters asked Maria for a quote, and she answered that love grows stronger whenever it is read aloud and shared like soup on a cold night, reminding everyone that words can warm hands almost as well as bowls of broth. The article spread online. Clara's friends reposted it with heart emojis, and Ben's old classmates sent cheerful messages, noting that brave choices often need gentle stories to mend stubborn misunderstandings. As the months rolled closer to autumn, Clara asked Maria to teach her lullabies in both Spanish and English, and the melodies curled through the apartment each sunset, making even silent corners hum with gentle comfort. Often Ben joined the singing, turning lullaby practice into cheerful trios that ended with Bolt howling one off-key note and everyone laughing until their sides hurt. One stormy night, lightning flashed and the power flickered, so Ben lit candles while Maria stirred soup on the gas flame, and Clara read bedtime tales by warm glow. During a loud thunderclap, Maria told a quick story about a brave candle that guarded a village through darkness, and the thunder seemed to soften before rolling away. Bolt curled at Clara's feet. The baby kicked in perfect rhythm, and Ben whispered that even storms can sound like drums leading heroes forward. The doctor set a delivery window for early October, and Maria circled the probable date in bright red ink inside her notebook, adding tiny stars for luck. Clara soon suggested renewing vows after the baby's arrival, promising an open park ceremony where every friend and relative could feel welcome under one sky. Ben loved the idea, planning banners held by star magnets and rainbow picnic blankets, so laughter could echo through the trees without any velvet ropes blocking love. The children from Story Island practiced a song to perform at the ceremony, their paper crowns slipping sideways as they belted cheerful notes about bridges staying strong. Maria sewed a miniature navy suit for Bolt, attaching a velvet pouch to carry rings, and the dog posed proudly as if aware of his royal duty, thumping his tail on the hardwood floor like a tiny drum roll. Time sprinted as leaves edged into gold, and suddenly the phone rang at dawn announcing Clara's first labor pains, sending Ben spinning into action like a startled top. Maria rode in the back seat, calming Ben with steady words and gentle jokes, proving that deep breaths are the best tools hidden inside any emergency kit. At the hospital, she helped Clara through contractions, counting slowly the way she once counted between lightning and thunder, turning pain into measured stepping stones. A healthy baby boy arrived just after midday, cheeks rosy and cries strong enough to rival trumpet practice in the school band room, and the nurse joked that such lungs would keep everyone awake in the best way. They named him Mateo, which means gift of God, and the nurse placed him first in Maria's waiting arms while parents watched with tears reflecting bright ceiling lights. Ben kissed Maria's forehead, whispering gratitude for every bedtime story and patchwork backpack that paved the road leading to this shining moment. Maria promised baby Mateo the same patient love she once poured into Ben, vowing to fill his world with stories that teach courage, kindness, and clever problem-solving. That night, as hospital monitors beeped softly like distant crickets, 3 generations slept side by side, hearts beating together in gentle rhythm, marking the cheerful start of a brand-new chapter. Autumn finally folded into deep oranges and cool breezes when Clara decided the upcoming weekend would be perfect for the big vow renewal picnic in Central Meadow, an event meant to prove love grows wider than mistakes. Maria woke at dawn, baked cinnamon-dusted star cookies, carried a steaming pot of lentil soup downstairs, and laughed when the smell drew sleepy neighbors into the hallway. Ben gently buckled tiny Mateo into a soft carrier covered with cartoon rockets, tapped the nose of each rocket for luck, and promised his wide-eyed son that today he would hear promises stronger than steel bridges. At the park, Story Island teens spread rainbow blankets and planted flags reading welcome in many languages, so no guest would doubt they belonged. Bolt trotted through leaves wearing a navy ring-bearer jacket and bow tie, tail beating like a drum, while children balanced paper crowns on his ears and cheered each proud bark. Clara's parents arrived with trays of sparkling sushi. Mrs. Patel brought spicy samosas, and soon the buffet table glowed with flavors inviting everyone to taste new worlds. The librarian rolled in picture books, Mr. Lewis tuned guitar, and together they led the kids in the bridge song until even squirrels paused on branches to listen. Ben tapped a phone button, letting soft violin music float, then walked Clara beneath balloon arches that bobbed like friendly clouds while friends clapped beneath sunny leaves. Maria held Mateo close, whispering into Clara's ear that promises grow best when watered by honest hearts, and colorful leaves spun downward like slow fireworks. The officiant, a retired park ranger with a beard like driftwood, invited everyone to stand in a circle, explaining that love hides behind no one, and therefore every face deserves a front row view. Ben spoke first, saying he once trusted tall glass towers, but learned real strength tastes like soup from tired hands, sound like off-key lullabies, and looks like fridges covered in toddler scribbles. Clara confessed she once feared crowded memories, yet now she saw Maria's fridge gallery as a mural of victories, so she vowed to keep walls colorful even if future designers begged for blank space. Maria placed the ring pouch in Bolt's mouth. Halfway to the couple it slipped, but the quick dog snapped it again mid-air, earning a roar of applause and proving playful paws can guard precious things. Clara slid a shining silver band onto Ben's finger, promising to mend doubts with faith the way Maria once patched fraying glove stitches with simple shoe laces. Ben put the twin band on Clara, vowing the door to their home would swing open for family, neighbors, and lost strangers alike, because open doors let sunlight roam far. Children wearing crowns sang the bridge song again. Words about hearts building arches echoed across water, and grown-ups dabbed tears that glittered brighter than the lake. Maria raised Mateo high like a tiny sunrise, declaring he proved love multiplies like seeds floating to fresh soil, ready to grow forests no planter can predict. Applause rolled over the meadow like gentle thunder. Pigeons fluttered from the fountain, gray wings flashing silver in sunlight that painted quick lightning around the crowd. The buffet line opened, and guests built plates with cookies, sushi, samosas, and soup, each bite a quilt square of flavor, wrapping the afternoon in warm harmony. Under a tall sycamore, Maria read the brave candle tale to youngsters. Clara filmed, and Ben watched while leaf shadows danced across his shoes. Clara's mother snapped photos of Maria guiding Mateo's hands to clap, whispering that grandmothers stitch invisible capes of courage around families. Mr. Lewis stepped forward, presenting Maria with a handcrafted plaque carved "Stories Connect Souls." Cheers burst so loud even the carousel paused its song for a beat. Ben raised sparkling cider and toasted forgiveness, asking guests to practice it daily and gentle as toothbrushing, prompting joyful agreement. A jogging stranger wandered over, accepted a cookie, and left grinning, proof that kindness hooks outsiders like catchy tunes hook ears. Work friends unpacked guitars, played soft folk songs, and kids chased soap bubbles that drifted over lake water, reflecting pink skies. Clara rocked Mateo, saying lullabies sound sweeter outdoors where wind-rustled leaves clap gentle percussion above sleepy breaths. Sunset spilled tangerine light across puddles. Maria guided children to collect trash, explaining shared spaces stay lovely when each helper carries one small piece. Bolt chased a runaway balloon, circles blurring until he flopped at Maria's feet, eyes shining with safe pride. Maria looked around, seeing no velvet ropes, only chalk drawings, footprints, and laughter stamped into grass like Unity's bright ink. Ben snapped her candid photo and captioned it, "An empty seat now overflows. Thanks, Mom, for teaching recipes that feed hearts." Clara hugged Maria, promising future birthdays, holidays, and even lazy Wednesdays would always include her because ordinary days prove love. The first stars blinked awake. Maria kissed Mateo's soft knuckles, storing the sparkle the way one tucks letters into storybooks. Ben packed the bridge plaque on the dashboard, star magnets in a box, mint pot in the cup holder, and said every journey needs reminders of first light. At Maria's door, Ben squeezed her hands, pledging Sunday dinners forever. Maria replied she would keep soup warm, stories ready, and the latch loose. She waved until taillights melted into traffic. Her heart hummed a tune made of wheels rolling, pigeons flapping, and baby giggles. Inside, she set the empty soup pot in the sink. The thin ring of broth looked like a golden circle, marking the end of one chapter and start the next. Maria opened her notebook and wrote, "Bridges hold, promises grow, and shattered invitations can spark bigger parties where everyone dances under one forgiving sky." She slipped beneath her patched quilt, peace settling like the blanket she knit for Ben's first dorm night while cricket songs mixed with distant horns. Before sleep, she planned tomorrow's Story Island session, eager to teach how brave candles guard villages and words build bridges over lonely rivers. Her last waking breath thanked the universe for star magnets, mint leaves, Mateo, and brave letters, while moonlight carried her into dreams of puzzles snapping together with the bright, unbreakable glue of love.